Hello everyone, welcome back to the A320 Pro channel. Today we'll be looking at some more advanced features of the McDo and the Airbus A320 using the Phoenix A320 on Microsoft Flight Simulator. We'll look into the direct to function, the fix info feature, next waypoint feature, offset, constant mach, and time markers. Let's dive into it right away. First of all, we can see right now we're flying direct to Bucko on our flight plan. This is the newest waypoint we're flying to. We're 47 miles away from it, and we're going to reach this waypoint at 8 minutes after 11. The airplane, as signified on the PFD, is in managed mode, so the lateral navigation is controlled by the FMGC, indicated here by the nav in green. You can also see on the FCU panel that the airplane is currently in nav mode, so in managed mode, as the heading window is dashed, meaning that the airplane has control over lateral navigation. Okay, now let's say in this scenario that ATC tells us that we don't need to fly to Bucko anymore, but we can fly now direct to the waypoint Oakley. In order to do so, we're going to dive into the FMS and go into the direct to feature. By clicking on direct to, you access the list of the different waypoints of your flight plan. Now once again, you have an arrow here signifying that you have more than one page of waypoints available to you. Now, since in this case ATC has cleared us to fly directly from present position to Oakley, we're going to go ahead and select Oakley on our McDo. A couple of information are going to appear. First of all, it shows us that we want to fly to Oakley. We're going to reach this waypoint at 11:18 if we're to fly direct to this waypoint right now. That is at a distance of 108 nautical miles. On our ND, we can see a yellow dashed line showing that we haven't inserted this yet, but if we were to do it, this is what it would look like. It would bypass the waypoint Bucko right here and fly a direct line to Oakley. Finally, if we want to retain some information about where Bucko was, we have the option to do so by selecting a beam waypoints. Doing so is going to create a custom waypoint on our route, on our direct route, where Bucko would have been. This would be extremely important for you if you have a long stretch without waypoints so that you can do some fuel checks in cruise. I'm going to go ahead and insert it with the beam. Once again, the beam is going to create a pseudo waypoint here where Bucko would have been. If I don't want to have this waypoint be created, I can just simply press on direct to, and this will create a simple one. I'll use the beam. I'll go ahead and insert it. As I do so, the airplane will start turning because we're flying on the autopilot, and we're now flying direct to Oakley, but we have once again that pseudo waypoint beam Bucko so that we can use it for fuel checks, for instance. Now this is an example of a direct to of a waypoint that we currently have in our flight plan. What if ATC tells us to fly to a waypoint that we don't have yet in the MCU because it was not part of our flight plan? For instance, a scenario, ATC tells us to fly direct to the waypoint Benzo because there is some kind of military airspace in front of us. Well, Benzo is right here. We can see it on our ND. I have selected the waypoint filter. To do so, nothing simpler. We just go into direct to again and type in the waypoint that we want to fly to, Benzo, using the scratch pad. Insert it here. Now it's going to ask us which waypoint we want to fly to because there are two Benzo waypoints in the database. One is 45 miles away, one is over 8,000 miles away. Well, that makes more sense if we want to fly to Benzo, which is about 45 miles away. I'll select this Benzo right here. And once again, we have the options of retaining the beam waypoints. So in this case, it would create a waypoint beam Bucko once again on a route, or direct to, simply direct to Benzo. I'm just going to fly direct to Benzo in this case. We're going to reach this waypoint at 11 past 11 and it's in 41 miles. I'll insert, and now the airplane is flying direct to Benzo. Now as you can see here, it is creating a bit of an issue in the sequencing of the flight plan because we have retained a beam Bucko, but it means that the airplane will have to fly to Benzo and then turn around back to Bucko and then turn around back on the route. So a way to make this work, and usually ATC would tell you something along those lines, after Benzo, fly direct Oakley. Now to do so, we're going to have a couple of options. Option 1 is to simply get rid of a beam Bucko by pressing on clear, and then clear the waypoint right here, and then insert. Now you can see that you still have a discontinuity, but because the airplane doesn't know yet. Okay, Benzo, where do you want me to go afterwards? Well, I want to go to Oakley, so I'm going to go ahead and clear the discontinuity, insert, and we can now see that we have a straight line from Benzo to Oakley. Just get rid of this so it is more visual. Now, if this works, and this is completely fine to do, there's a better method to do what we just did before. Now, in order to demonstrate this, I'm going to pretend that after Benzo, ATC wants you to fly direct to the PSK VOR. Instead of deleting Oakley and Asper and deleting the discontinuity, which is about 4 actions in the FMS, I'm going to use the next waypoint feature. So after Benzo, I'm going to select Benzo here on my Mach 2. On the left side, on the lateral control, I now have a new option, which is next waypoint. So simply, I'm going to type in the waypoint that I want to fly to after passing Benzo. In this case, it is going to be the PSK intersection. I'm going to enter it. I have a couple of options once again, same thing as we had before, different waypoints in the database that are called PSK. One is 144 miles away, and the other ones are over 3,800 miles away. So this is the first one that we want to fly to. It gives you a chance here to check what you've entered is actually what you want. So from Benzo, we'll fly direct to the PSK intersection, and we can see on the screen that yellow dashed line showing us the direct route bypassing Oakley and Asper. I'm going to go ahead and insert it. Now the airplane is not turning yet because we told it after Benzo, fly to PSK. And in this case, this is what is reflected on the FMS. And that is the direct to feature. It is pretty simple to use. There are some more features that we can use, such as radial in and radial out. We'll talk about these features more in depth as we talk about the ILS approach or any type of approach later on in a video. Now, another feature of the FMS is the time marker, which is extremely convenient and useful for us to use in flights to put a waypoint visually on the ND for us to see when we reach a specific time. For instance, if ATC tells you at 11:15, so that's in 6 minutes, contact ATC on this frequency, so that we don't forget, we can insert a waypoint in the Mach 2 to keep a reminder for us. So very simply, I'm going to type in the time that I want to have a waypoint at, 11:16. I'm going to insert it anywhere in the flight plan, and it's going to sequence and create a waypoint for us right here, 11:16 UTC. Visually, it's going to look something like this on your ND. You can see here the waypoint has been created at exactly time of 11:16. That is very visual because as soon as you pass this waypoint, which stands in your face as the pilot, you can see it right in front of you, then you know that you have to contact ATC. And that is the time marker. So very simple. You just simply type the time that you want to have in your FMS, insert it anywhere. It's going to sequence by itself, and you can also remove it if you want to. In this case, you have removed the time marker and it's gone. Now in this section, we're going to discuss about the offset feature of the FMS. This is used especially for flights that take place over the Atlantic or in the WAT area, so that is the Atlantic region between here and the Caribbean, for instance. We usually don't stay on our route. We usually take an offset, so offsets are always to the right, 1 or 2 miles. They can be used to make sure that we have sufficient spacing with other aircrafts or to avoid wake turbulence from an aircraft that is directly in front of us. So in this case, we're going to have a look at the offset. So we're going to offset from our current position to PSK, for instance. To do so, we're going to select the waypoint that we're flying to. So we're currently Benzo, passing Benzo to PSK. We're going to go in the offset and we're going to tell it by how much we want to offset and to the left or to the right. So in this case, let's say we want to offset and fly a parallel route to what we have planned, but 1 mile to the right. So to do this in the FMS, we have selected offset. Once again, I'll go back here, Benzo, offset, and we're going to say offset right by 1 mile. Insert, you can see here, if I zoom in, that it's going to create a turning point and start offsetting the aircraft. I'm just going to go ahead and insert. and then the airplane will turn right and maintain that offset until we do not want it anymore. Especially on neo aircrafts and newer generation aircraft, we have some more options with the offset that are not yet implemented on the Phoenix A320, such as telling the FMS until when you want to fly the offset or at what degree of interception that you want to use. Once you're done with the offset and you want to resume your normal route and go back on the initial line that you had, you can simply select the waypoint again and delete the offset by going on clear the offset, insert, and the airplane will simply now return back to the original line and get rid of the offset. Once again, this is not a feature that you will use every single day, but it's a nice thing to know, especially when you're flying on the NATS or in the WAT airspace. Another feature of the FMS is flying a constant mach segment, so you can tell the FMS that you want to change from one point up to another the mach number to fly a specific mach number. This is once again especially used in NATS or WAT airspace, so flying over the North Atlantic or down to the Caribbean, for instance, in order to maintain good separation between all the aircrafts. To do so, this is once again a vertical. In the vertical side of the FMGC, we have here constant mach number, which we can select. This menu is pretty self-explanatory, so you can select what mach number you want to fly. So in this case, I'll insert 0.8, insert it here. It's going to ask you where you want to start flying that mach number and where you want to stop flying that specific mach number. Let's say ATC wants you to fly mach 0.8 from PSK intersection to Juicy. So here we have PSK already selected. We can select anything else. Once again, forget that you use your arrows to select any other waypoints. And we want to fly that constant mach number down to Juicy. And we can now verify that we have all the information selected, mach 0.8 from PSK to Juicy. And if I have my constraint selected, this is going to appear as a speed constraint starting from PSK. I'm going to insert it. We're now going to see here that we have a constraint of mach 0.80. Here there's that yellow star, which means that the airplane doesn't think it's going to be able to meet that restriction. We can now see in our ND that the speed restriction has appeared of mach 0.80, and it's going to fly that speed all the way to FA, and then it's going to get rid of that mach segment. If you're not happy and you don't want to fly that mach segment anymore, you can go back into the constant mach and you can delete that directly in the menu, insert, and now the mach restriction has been deleted and is not longer going to be followed by the aircraft and the FMGC. One of the last feature we're going to have a look at now is the fix info feature. So one thing to note is that the fix info feature is only going to be reachable in the FMGC through the two waypoints, so you cannot access the fix info in any other waypoint. Now, I believe that this is an issue that's going to have to be fixed in the Phoenix, because in real life, if you select any other waypoint, the fix info will not appear. So to go in the habit of this, we'll select PSK, we'll go into fix info, and now we're going to be able to select any reference fix. Now, just to make this more visual, I'm going to go into waypoint here, and I'm going to select a random waypoint, a beamer route. For instance, Debs right here. This is not a waypoint that is part of the flight plan that we're currently flying, but we're going to use that as a demonstration of the fix info. So I'm going to go ahead and insert that fix into the McDo here, and we'll see what the options are. First of all, by doing so, Debs now appear on our ND even though we're not in waypoint mode anymore, so it gives us a visual sign as to where Debs is. We can use a radius that's going to paint a circle, a blue circle around that waypoint of the distance that we have selected. For instance, if I paint a 15-mile radius, we can see here a 15-mile radius circle. This can be very helpful for a couple of reasons. First of all, if you know that there is some kind of airspace 20 miles around Debs, well, you know that you cannot enter this area, and this makes it very visual for you to see on your ND. Also, this can help know exactly how far along your flight plan depth actually is by trial and error. In this case, if I enter 17-mile radius, you can see the 17-mile radius almost exactly touches our route, so we know we're going to be exactly 17 miles away from depth once we pass a beam in. Now, what if you want to do a fuel check of beam depths, or you want to have some waypoint along your route added a beam the waypoint depths? Very simple. You simply press on a beam, and this is going to create here a line intersecting between your route and depths. To create a waypoint, you simply press again and insert on the beam, and this is going to create a new waypoint here. Now, in real life, this would not ask you to go into heading mode because your airplane will still be flying direct to PSK. It will keep that beam waypoint as a reference only. In this case, it asks you to select heading first because the airplane will fly a beam depth and then direct to PSK. We're going to do that. We're going to go into heading mode. We now have the ability to insert it because the airplane is flying a beam depth, and I'm going to push it back into manage mode, and we're now in nav mode, and we have that waypoint created a beam depth. Another thing we can do is in the fix info is to insert a specific radial. For instance, I want to see where radial 210 from depth is, and it's going to create a line on radial 210. So for instance, if you wanted to intercept radial 210 outbound from depths, you'll be able to turn here and follow that line, and you will know that you're on radial 210. And this is fix info, so you can have as many as 4 different fix inserted into the fix info and have all the information about radius, a beam waypoint with your route, or radials away from that waypoint selected directly into your FMS. This makes it very visual for you to see airspaces or to have some fuel check waypoints as you're flying along. Finally, the last feature I want to talk about is the closest airports. There are 2 ways that we can see the closest airports to us. You can either click on airport, and then you have a list of all the airports close to you. If you want to have a better understanding of how long it's going to take you to go to a specific airport and what heading you need to take, there's an option in the mach2 that you can use. In data, we're going to go on page 2, on page 1, closest airports, and now it tells us the bearing to these airports, the distance, and the time at which you will get there. This is a useful feature in case something happens right now. We know that this airport is the closest one. We'll be there in 2 minutes. It's 12 miles away, and we need to take a heading of 117. Now, as you're flying over continental United States, it's not an issue to find an airport. When you're flying over the Atlantic or in the WAT airspace, this is a very useful feature that you can use to see what is the closest airport in case something happens, such as an engine failure or a rapid decompression. Once you have this information, for instance here, I wanted to divert to KBKW, I can go ahead in my proc page and type in KBKW, and I have the information right here ready for me. A track of 269, distance of 22.8 miles. If I wanted to make even more visual, I can use the fix info feature we've just seen before by going into fix info, inserting that airport right here, and I can have a radius of 10 miles around it, for instance, and I can see right now on my NG where the airport is, and I have a 10-mile radius around it. If anything happens and we have some kind of emergency right now, I know exactly where to find the information. I don't even need to go fidgeting into the FMS. I can have that information right away on your ND. Well, thank you very much for following along today as we've reviewed a few features of the FMS, such as the direct to, the fix info, next waypoint, the offset, constant Mach number, and the time markers in the FMS. I hope you found this video helpful, and I'll see you very soon in another video.